All right, week 3 college football breakdown. Steve Bevo in the background here. We're talking about the enemy. We've got Texas A&M coming off horrible home loss to Appalachian State, hosting Miami. We've seen this line come all the way down. A&M is only a 6-point home favorite, and this total has been steamed down from the high 40s all the way down to 44.5. So people are expecting a much lower scoring game. Don't ever call me biased again, and I hate to have to do this, but Texas A&M -6 is the play. Last week was bad. I watched the end of that game and, went back and rewatched kind of how that game went down. The reality of it is if you're only on the field 18 minutes out of a 60-minute game, there's just a massive disparity there. I mean, Appalachian State ran 82 plays. Texas A&M ran 38. I viewed Texas A&M as potentially a top 5 defense in the country. I think they're great on their defensive line. I think they're great in their secondary. Can have their issues against the run, but defense is not the issue in Aggieland. It's clearly the offense, and we're going to get to that in a second. But Miami, now that Notre Dame has fallen off, I talked about it in the summer, most overrated team in the country was Notre Dame. Now that they've kind of exposed themselves as frauds, Miami's kind of in that group of teams that are soon to expose themselves as frauds as well. I mean, first-year head coaches are brought in for a reason. This is not a ready-made program right now. And I like Mario Cristobal. I think over time, he's going to get Miami back to a national championship standard. But this team has got a lot of holes. And specifically this offense, this is not the kind of defense that going on the road into a tough environment that you want to have holes. I mean, Tyler Van Dyke has gotten a lot of hype. He obviously had a great end, a great second half to last season. I'm not going to take anything away from him because he played really well. It's not a big enough sample size to where I want to, necessarily put my credibility on the line and say this guy's a first-round talent, but he played well. He might be the only strength of this offense, though. This run game was putrid a year ago. Putrid. And they, too, have played a cupcake start to the season. They played Bethune-Cookman, and they played Southern Miss, who is a terrible team. I really don't care if they've been able to run the ball well in those matchups. I don't think they're going to run the ball well in this matchup. I really doubt that we see a hurricane back get to 5 yards per carry this season. And their offensive line, even playing a cupcake last week, struggled. Miami did not look good in that game against Southern Miss. They allowed 4 sacks to a clearly inferior team. If you're allowing 4 sacks to Southern Miss, if you're having those offensive miscues against that team, good luck against this A&M defense. And I'm not willing to concede that Tyler Van Dyke is going to have the advantage in this matchup. Like I said, this is one of the best secondaries in college football. Miami has got issues at wide receiver. That might be one of the most glaring weaknesses of this team right now. They just don't have a lot established. It was a problem throughout spring, problem throughout fall camp. We didn't see those issues arise against inferior competition. This is the type of matchup where that's going to get exposed. Now, obviously, A&M's offense sucks. It's really more so their system. It's well past time that Jimbo Fisher give over the play calling duties to somebody else and bring in a young, innovative mind. Obviously, it's not going to happen here during the season, but I do think we're going to get a much improved performance from the quarterback position, and it's going to come in one of two forms. Jimbo Fisher has kept this pretty close to the vest. Is it going to be Haynes King again? Is it going to be Max Johnson? If you're asking me, it should be Max Johnson. It quite frankly should have been Max Johnson coming out of fall camp. I've never been high on Haynes King. I follow Texas high school football pretty closely. I didn't like him as a recruit. I didn't like him last year going into the season. And finally, people have caught on that this guy is really not any good. Max Johnson, on the other hand, he is no world beater, but he had a 5-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio at LSU. He's a much more experienced player. All A&M needs is just a game manager, serviceable quarterback. Their defense is going to win them a lot of games alone. I think Max Johnson is the clear choice, but either way, they're going to improve quarterback-wise because it's either going to be King elevating his game or it's going to be Johnson coming in, who I think is an instant improvement. The one thing A&M has struggled early on in the season to do is run the football. Devin Achane, 7 yards per carry last year. He's got elite speed. He returned a kickoff for a touchdown last week. They should be able to run the ball better than they have. One thing I'll say about that, A&M is going to welcome back Bryce Foster, who might be their best run-blocking offensive lineman. He's been out the first 2 weeks. He's going to be back for this game. So do think that helps them there. Miami's weakness, and I do think this is going to be a weakness this year. I've heard people talk about, Miami's so much improved in the run defense. How do you know? They played Bethune-Cookman. They've played Southern Miss. These past 2 years, Miami's run defense has been horrible. Is the new coaching staff over time going to fix those issues? Sure. It's the third game of the coaching staff, the first road game for this coaching staff. That's what people don't understand. It's not easy to take over a team failed for a reason a year ago and just instantly make them be competitive in this type of game. Quite frankly, I do think A&M moves the ball pretty well in this matchup. Now, by their standards, I'm not saying they're going to put up 35 points. No, it's probably going to be a lower scoring game. I do think that they win this game by double digits, and like I said, that's why I played them minus the 6. But I am not sold on Miami's defense whatsoever. And Miami's also got a really young secondary. I know this Texas A&M quarterback situation wouldn't inspire much confidence in the vertical passing game. But that being said, I do think A&M is going to have more success through the air than people would be given credit for. Sometimes the best time to back a team is when nobody wants to back them. And that's kind of a common quote throughout the sports betting community, but sometimes those principles pay off true. Was last week embarrassing for Texas A&M? Yes. Is Miami ready to compete in this kind of matchup? No. A&M might have a top 5 defense in the country. This Miami team has weaknesses across the board that, quite frankly, I don't think are going to get fixed this year. I think this team won't be a true contender in the ACC. I think they'll probably go 7-5, 8-4. I think it'll be a down year for Miami once again, because I think it takes time for a coaching staff to build in their culture and to build a championship level program. Suffice to say, I think we're getting a lot of value on the Aggies here. I've actually already released 4 best bets here for week 3. Gave those out this morning here on Wednesday. Plan to have the rest of my week 3 card out by Thursday. Main place you can follow to see what I'm on officially is Twitter. Follow me there at Fordham Betting. One more thing, guys. Check out proud90.com for all your golf apparel needs. You see this shirt right here. I know you've been staring at it the whole time. They got unique but very comfortable polos as well. They got t-shirts, hoodies, quarter zips. Browse their selection, and if you see anything you like at checkout, use code Fordham. It's going to get you 15% off your order. The rest of the information will be in the description below. Proud90.com, code Fordham. Support me, support Proud90, proud90.com. Once again, don't ever call me biased again, because I hate Texas A&M, but they are the play. I played Texas A&M minus the 6 for 1 unit.